guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I talk about other things. Like today, when I'll be reviewing a rare interview that Clarence Peters did while promoting his new limited series, Inside Life. He had this interview with my friends at Nollywire. Please check them out, subscribe to their channel, and follow them on social media. And this interview is important to me, and I'm going to analyze it because I just reviewed Inside Life, and in the review I said I had lots of questions. So I want to watch this interview that Clarence Peters did to find out if he answers some of the questions that I had about Inside Life, because it really confused me and it probably confused you as well. If not, you probably won't be watching this video. Anyway, let's get into it.
I was born into this industry. A lot of people have other degrees and other things, even if you went into theater arts and all of that, and then you just happen to be in it, right? I literally was born into it. If they ban filmmaking today, the only thing I can do is cleaner. I don't have certificates for anything else, all right? So it's not trying to prove a point. I need for the industry to be able to move forward so that I can express myself and so that I can be able to exploit the talent that God has given me, but also be able to feed my family. Principal photography officially started on January 2021. That's the first half. No, not the first half, just the first part, and the second part was July 2021. And then January 2022 was when principal photography, actually February 2022 is when it ended, January to February. So it was short.
So let me get this straight. They started filming, or principal photography as he called it, in January of 2021, when we were very much still in lockdown. Not unusual. Lots of people were making films around that period. So that's when they started. They stopped, and he said they picked up again in the middle of the year, in July of 2021. And then they continued in January of 2022. That just goes to show you the, the timeline for the production of Inside Life. Very interesting. Let's continue.
In stages. The story is an entire blanket of a world, and we just took specific parts of it, the parts that we could make, given the resources that we had, and made that. So I'm not in that space where, I have to pander to what some people think is supposed to work. And that's why it's probably taking 3 years for the show to come out.
So now feels like the right time?
I didn't determine when it would come out. It's just like the casting of this. I didn't cast it. God casted this thing, and God decided when it would come out.
Inside Life was filmed a while ago, 3 years ago, as Clarence said. And I remember it was meant to come out, I think, in 2022, in like middle of 2022. So yes, Inside Life was actually filmed a while ago. And he said something about pandering to what people's expectations. Clarence Peters is a very unconventional individual and filmmaker. He doesn't toe the path that everyone else toes. And I think I expected this project, Inside Life, to be different, but I didn't expect it to be that different. In terms of being contrarian and doing things differently as a creative person, as a filmmaker, yes, it's allowed, but I think that you should still do what you want, but also do what people want as well. Satisfy your audience, which is, I don't think that's something that Inside Life did, but I think maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me hear more.
And it will sound like I'm trying to pander to it. No, I actually don't know. When I'm watching episodes, I'm like, there's no way I had the sense to be able to cast this person. I'm not that smart. If you're not the character, you're not the character. If you're not ready to put the work into being the character, you're not the character. It's not a celebrity contest. It's acting. And acting is work. So I would always pick up those. And it also took this long because I didn't have stars. All right? It took this long for anyone to pick it up, to agree and believe in it, because I didn't have stars. Yeah, that was traumatic. Just being able to experience people telling you something you believe in and you walk in and it's shit. It doesn't make any sense. So, but I would do it I don't think I would change anything about it.
So that's a thing in Nollywood. Sometimes movies, people are reluctant to put movies in cinemas or to, put them on streaming platforms or to buy them if they do not have popular actors and actresses in it, A-listers, right? And Inside Life has some really good actors, but there aren't A-listers in it. Maybe Gabriel Afolayan and Mego Tanwa, but some people may argue that they are not exactly A-list actors. They're not as known as like maybe a Nancy Sime or a Demi or Kolawon. And from what Clarence just said, it seemed like it took a while for people to support it, to pick it up. It was a struggle, and his word, traumatic. There was just kickback and reluctance for people to buy or accept the film, or agree to put it anywhere because it didn't have A-listers. But I guess he managed to win that battle by it getting on Netflix.
Not just talent, but they're ready to put in the work, because talent isn't everything, contrary to what most people think. All right, I would pick someone who seems like they're still growing and maybe at 50% of their abilities, over someone who's 150, right? If the 50% person is ready to put in the work, all right? Because the work would make that 50% look like 1,000, right? Because it's not cameras or lighting that makes good films or good narrative work, right? It's an honest approach to telling a story.
About the hard work thing, there's that quote, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I get what he means, and it's a thing with Nollywood. There are lots of stars who they're talented, but they don't have discipline. Maybe they don't show up to set on time. They don't work well with their co-stars or with the crew. So it's a bit of a tough experience working with them, even though they are A-listers and they're talented. Their work ethic is poor. So I get what Clarence is saying. He'd rather work with somebody who isn't as talented but has very good work ethics and standards. So that was his defense for casting the people he cast, when clearly Clarence could have cast A-listers, but I guess that was his reasoning.
I can tell the story about a stone, how a stone came from here and ended up downstairs, right? How honest are you? And honesty is subjective, right? But to you, to yourself, right? How honest are you to the story? We discovered the themes after shooting.
Oh, interesting.
All right, I don't think I advise for people to write like that, but we didn't write with a genre in mind. So till now, it's still confusing what the genre is.
Yeah.
Right. Because we developed, the first time we shot and the second time we shot, we developed characters, and we developed the world. And so we picked characters and then took them on a journey within the world. It's the experiences that the characters have been through that now begin to determine the themes. So from abuse, both domestic abuse and authority abuse, to spirituality. Right? It's really big on spirituality on both sides of the divide. And by both sides of the divide, I mean both Christianity and just, jazz.
Okay, so from what Clarence said, right, I'm guessing that he said that they developed characters and, a world, and the story was meant to follow those characters that were developed. But it looks like, or it sounds like, the plan changed somewhere along the line. And he also said that, they weren't, the story came together after they had filmed. And he said that he doesn't advise anyone makes films that way, because it can be, just think about it, it can be a very scattered way of putting a film together when you film, and then it's when you now have the footage, they are now trying to piece things together. No, you should piece things together in the writing before you start filming. So I think if he could have done things differently, the writing would have been more coherent, would have been more solid. They would have pieced the writing or the story together in pre-production, not in post-production. So I think it's safe to say that from what Clarence has said, what we got with Inside Life, at the end of the day, what we watched on Netflix was not the original plan, and kind of came together kind of haphazardly, right? In which case, and he did say the genre that, he's not too clear on what the genre is. He hasn't said whether it's thriller or horror. And that's something that really confused me, the genre of Inside Life.
This in particular is very, very personal for me. It's very personal for my family. It's also very personal for a lot of people around. There are people who would be triggered, would find it offensive. Not offensive in the sense that you're trying to go out of your way to offend people and all that, just because it's close to home. In the sense, I wanted to also be able to have that effect, because some of these stories, you see them on blogs on a daily basis, and you say, hey, yeah, and you move on. There's the perception that Nigerian audience, you have to spoon feed them. I don't agree with that. Not in the least. So I'm waiting to see what the results would be like. All right. Maybe I've been deluding myself all these years, and all right. So yeah, lots of Easter eggs, lots of I don't think that it is possible for you to watch episode 2 and get the entire story. You have to literally watch it from episode 1 and pay attention from episode 1 to episode 2, because the slight, very subtle information that is in there that if you don't get, then you won't understand where the story is. I mean, it's not going to stop you from enjoying it, but then you'd get to a place where there are a lot of things that you won't understand. So for every question you want to ask about, I don't understand this doesn't make any sense, it's actually inside. You just need to maybe go back and watch it again. And so if you watch it,
go back and watch it again. Clarence, you know who? I'm not going back to watch. I have too many things to watch and review. But I don't know. Inside Life did not really have rewatch value for me. And I think I said it in my review. Inside Life it seemed unnecessarily convoluted and complex. It didn't need to be as complex as it was. And, him saying that he doesn't believe that you need to spoon feed the Nigerian audience. I agree. I agree that lots of things are dumbed down for the Nigerian audience, and it shouldn't be like that. A segment of the Nigerian audience is intelligent enough for intelligent storytelling and slightly more advanced or dynamic storytelling. I agree. But at the same time, I feel like Inside Life was a bit too advanced. It was too complicated. It was operating at a frequency that only people like Clarence, some like really deep thinkers, will actually get. And if that's the case, then why make that kind of a movie and put it on such a public platform like Netflix? Since, to my estimation or my belief, is that lots of people won't get it. You get my point, but let's carry on.
It essentially leaves you on a cliffhanger where there's a lot of questions. That's probably where maybe the biggest issue would be, just a lot of questions. But I wanted people to...
That's probably the biggest issue, a lot of questions. Thank God Clarence knows.
Be able to ask a lot of questions. A, to be able to guarantee that we will do a season 2, but B, to also be able to put to test just the perception of what people think the Nigerian audience can take and what they can't take.
Okay, so there are lots of questions by the time you're done watching Inside Life, so that A, there can be a season 2, and B, so that we can test what the Nigerian audience can take and cannot take, what we have a taste for. To be honest, right, I haven't really felt or, listened to how the general public has received Inside Life. Because the thing with the Nigerian audience is, if they don't like something or if they don't understand something, they'll keep quiet about it. And I feel that's what happened with a lot of people. Me, if I wasn't somebody who reviewed Nollywood things, after watching Inside Life, I'll just keep quiet because I didn't get it and I just want to move on. So I feel there are lots of people who did not understand Inside Life, but they have no incentive or no inclination to open up and say, look, I didn't get Inside Life. The people who have been talking about Inside Life, who have been tweeting about it and leaving comments here and there, the people who maybe got it or appreciated the fact that it was different. My question is now, which population of the viewing audience is larger? Did we have more people who understood Inside Life and liked it, or do we have more people who did not understand Inside Life and who did not like it? So that's my question. But I'm happy to see that Clarence knew, or knows rather, that Inside Life left many of us with lots and lots of questions, that it was a bit confusing to many of us, that it was unconventional. I just want, okay, and I was curious to know if there'd be a season 2. It did end on a cliffhanger. He said it ended on a cliffhanger. We saw it ended on a cliffhanger. My fear is that Clarence rather, there's, the pronunciation and the spelling. My fear is that Clarence is not the kind of person who likes doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like I said in the review, I think Clarence is done with Inside Life and he probably wants to move on to something else. I'd be surprised if Inside Life season 2 goes into production and we actually see a season 2. But I really do want him to do that so that we can have closure, because lots of questions were, presented in Inside Life. Lots of things were just put forward. Lots of things did not make sense. So a season 2 would be the ideal opportunity for him to tie up loose ends and to make things make sense. And please, if there is a season 2, Clarence, make things make sense. I think you can find a balance between making the kind of project that you want to make, that is deep and is, thought-provoking, and that is creative, and that is dark and, gothic or whatnot, but something that also is a bit easier for the general public, the average guy and girl, to digest. Not that it's the only the type of thing that people who are like deep thinkers and who watch things like Inside Life on the regular will be able to understand. I think you can find the balance between the project that you want to make and a project that will be easily digestible by the general public without pandering to the public. Because I understand, the kind of creative that Clarence Peters is, he doesn't necessarily want to pander to the public, and dumb things down or do things the way everyone does things. Guys, if you want to check out my review of Inside Life, you can click the card in the corner of the screen. If you enjoyed this review of his interview with Nollywire, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel as well. And also check out the full interview, which is pretty much the same thing. But if you want to check out the full interview, or if you want to support Nollywire, my friends at Nollywire, please head over to their YouTube channel and subscribe to their channel. Thanks for the final time, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.